ones, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We are live. Welcome to another Wednesday night of the good life. Some of you just joined us for the pregame over there on Instagram. If you're there coming back, welcome back. For those of you that are just joining us, man, we're episode number 41. Episode
Wow.
number 41. 41.
Wow.
That's right. 41 weeks. And we got the man back in the building.
Yeah.
Stu and I had a bunch of fun the past couple weeks. We had some good conversations. It was great hanging out.
Oh yeah.
But Kabi is back in the building.
Yeah, black.
Mr. Health himself. Health,
Welcome
Health
back, brother. Welcome
himself,
back.
man.
health.
Thank you.
So welcome.
Man, y'all got me feeling like Khabib wrestling that bear out there. You know what I mean? Marah, boy.
Either way, we're glad you're back. Again, off of a honeymoon, off of a great wedding. We talked about it a bit on the pregame, but man, good to jump back in. And today happens to be your topic. The topic that we're going to talk about today happens to be in the health wellness side. We're going to talk about energy. So I'm gonna toss it over to you, man. Stu and I have been talking a bunch the past couple weeks. Your turn.
Yes, sir. Listen, man. Y'all done messed up giving me the mic. But I'm so excited, man. I'm excited to be back. It didn't, I have to be honest and say it didn't really quite feel like I was back until I was on back with the fellas.
Mm.
So it feels like okay, I'm coming back now. And today we're talking about energy. Energy. Woo! This right here is one of these topics that I think I'm going to be researching, thinking, reframing for probably for the rest of my life because I don't think we're fully going to get a grasp on this. I think it's that big of a topic. So I wanted to start off by, coming around to you guys and thinking when I say the word energy, give me everything that comes to mind. All right, that's what I want to start. Everything that comes to mind when I say energy. What do you got? Let's start with Stu.
So
I'm taking
the
notes by the way. You will be graded.
okay, perfect. I'm looking forward to this. So coming from the engineering physics background, my brain always defaults to electricity would be like the default, dude. Like, some type of fossil fuel burning or coal or whatever. That's where it mainly goes. But what's interesting is over the past 2 years, where it goes now is like, what kind of energy am I bringing to a conversation? How is somebody affecting my energy level when I interact with them? Like just this very amorphous, like difficult thing to describe, where it's like, what is like the life force that I'm bringing and what is being removed from me and just in general. And there's so much more now, even different types of energies, like different vibes. So,
That's good. That's good. Man, I'm glad you went first, Stu, because I don't even know what to say. Right? When he asked, I was like, "Damn, hey, somebody throw it in the chat, guys!" Right? Like if you're watching this, type it in the chat. Like what do you think of when it comes to energy? I guess for me, it's really you said vibes, right? It's really when I think about it, just the um, the connections that we have, right? If I could use that word connections, the things that keep us connected. That when I think of energy, that's what it means. I used to say a bunch: energy rules the world. Uh, Vibrations, right? Where you sit as far as when I think of energy levels, like what's your energy level? Are you a low energy person, meaning, right? You're not moving quickly. You're not. Um, Kind of doing things in a rapid manner. You talk slower, you move slower, right? You just have a lower vibration, a lower energy, um, versus right somebody that has better energy, more upbeat, more movement of hands, as you see if you're watching me, right? I'm constantly moving my hands. Um, but yeah, connection. Those are the words that just kind of keep coming to mind for me. Energy is probably a really hard thing to define. Hopefully, you can make this simple for us.
So that is the goal. The goal, actually, I take that back. That is not the goal. The goal is not to provide any answers. The goal is not to deliver anything. The goal is to have us start talking about it outside of the box that we've talked about it before. Is to expand our conversation around energy. And you guys all said a lot of really interesting things. Stu, electricity, fossil fuel, energy and conversations, life force. Chris, vibes, connection. Like that was the big piece there, connection between things. And I wanted to get on a couple different things, like just kind of on language wise, kind of on the same page here. Um, when I say dark matter, right? What does that mean to you guys?
You say dark matter?
Yeah. In fact, let me give you a whole bunch of things. When I say dark matter, when I say life force, when I say the force, when I say God energy, when I say all those, pick any of those things, and what type of imagery does it elicit in your minds?
Dark matter gives me like the idea of a like a black hole, like something that's sucking in energy from things around it. But it's not obviously quite a black hole, but it still has that effect on light energy. So it's kind of that vacuum feeling to it.
Yeah. I don't even know what comes to mind, bro. To be honest, like, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Dark
Okay.
matter.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I was running with that because I wanted us to go really big at first, like really really big, like celestial forces and big black holes and things of that nature. Now we're not going to dive too deep in the interest of again keeping it simple and trying to wrap our hands around because we may not be fully able to wrap our entire minds around the whole thing. And I think we actually as humans we each have pieces of the puzzle and we can only see the full picture when we connect. And that connection is, and one the thing that connects us, right, is energy. Just pull in a couple of things, like I said, and being on the same page with terms and whatnot. I believe it was Einstein. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean he was not the first, nor will he be the last to talk about this. But energy can neither, or it just this might just be a general principle that we talk about. Energy cannot be fill in the blank,
Lost,
No, it's
and or
gained.
created.
and or
It's energy can't be something and it can't be created, right? It can't be broken or can't be created. What's this saying? I know it.
It has to remain like a net neutral amount. I don't know how to.
energy cannot the law of conservation of energy, right?
Hmm.
Energy can neither be created nor destroyed,
There we
only
go.
converted from
Destroyed.
one form of energy to another. So this means that a system always has the same amount of energy. Now I want to pause there for a second, y'all. Y'all really like we've heard that a couple of times in our during our schooling, but really think about that. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Period. Like pause for a second and really think about that. So how do we account for all this energy that we have in the world? Let's look at all the different forms of energy. Electricity, fossil fuel, all that stuff, things that run machinery. But we also talked about energy that's kind of hard for us to wrap our minds around. Energy between individuals, vibes, right? Um, what about energy internally? Right? So we have celestial bodies, we have things that we can hold our hands around, and then we have internal energy, right? If it cannot be created or destroyed, only converted, or well, I mean, I'm I won't speak for you guys, but for me, there's definitely periods of time where I feel like I have high energy and low energy. So where does all that energy go? What like it can't be created or destroyed. So where is it when I have more and when I have less? You guys have something to add on to that or say to that? I saw you on mute.
I mean, my question is, or my kind of answer or response to that is like, it stays within the place, right? Like the energy doesn't, and I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking like the energy just moves to a different part, right? It just goes to somewhere different. But if it's not going to be created or destroyed, it still has to be there. So I don't know. It's interesting.
It still has to be there. And was it there when before we arrived as life forces? Was it there or was it only there after? Did we displace the energy? Like what happened?
Yeah, well, my theory would be it was 100% here before us. I mean, we originated from stars. The Big Bang turns into energy coming down into plants into that just continuous thing, and now we get it from our nutrition. So love that question. Um, you asked where it goes. To me, like the first thing that comes to mind is like, what I do for a profession. I'm a coach. Theoretically, I bring energy to the table, and a lot of times, not always, but if it's like a healing type space, it's me providing energy to that person a lot of the times. So I think in human interaction, like there's definitely an exchange between two people at least.
And Stu, to go a little bit deeper on that, how do you provide energy?
How do I provide energy? All right. So the first thing that, even as you say that, it makes me kind of straighten up and align myself so I can actually be more in touch with my energy. So I love that. Thank you. Um, how do I provide energy? I guess first of all, I have to understand what are the things that I do on a daily basis to get me energy, like exercise, nutrition, meditation, just doing like even fun, like just a whole variety of things. And how do I exchange that? What a great question, man. I suppose it has to do with the frequency and the vibe that I bring to showing up, like mostly through the noise I make, through my voice. That's probably my specialty. Um, but also just being there. It's almost so tough to describe it. Like you know how it is. Like when you're around somebody that's super chill, man, I'm fucking chilled out now. It's contagious. So I don't know how to describe that. I'm really
Got
I
it.
you got me kind of mind blown right now.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah. So again, guys, the purpose of this for me today is to get us thinking differently. It's to get us asking different questions, right? And I could have come at this from a very, in the box, nutrition focused, exercise focused type of thing, and but I kind of I pushed back against that because I think that's too small of a box. And when we put ourselves in that arena, that small ring of thinking, we miss a lot of things. We miss that energy is around us all the time. We miss that we intake it, convert it, and we give it. We That's the three things we do, right? And I want you guys to two things, two visualizations for us to move this conversation forward. First and foremost, imagine that um you are in a ball pit like that kids play in, right? And all those ball pits are molecules of energy, right? And it's all around you. We're just in the ball pit, like we're not even head out. We're literally in the ball pit, right? And you have all of that around you. Now, at any point in time, you can take that energy, take it in. Doesn't necessarily have to be just in your mouth. You could literally, we have the ability in this world that I'm describing. We have the ability to just absorb these balls of energy, right? These molecules of energy. Let me change my words. These molecules of energy.
We gotta pause because we gotta put a bunch of pauses on that. I couldn't stop it.
it.
Couldn't stop. But you're like
Right?
not
These
just the things, not just the things we take in our mouth, and then you start talking about balls. But either way, we digress. I
we need
apologize.
we need a female on this show
Chris,
to
you're the
keep us.
adult. You have to bring us back. You can't
We
take
need a
us there.
female on this show to keep us from these foolish activities here.
That could not slide. I could not let that one slide. Anyway,
Oh man,
Woo!
we'll keep going.
molecules of
Thanks
energy,
for
right?
bringing
We
some
can take.
energy, baby.
There you go. There
There
you
we
go. Look at
go.
that. Look at that. Hey man, that was a demonstration properly set up so that you guys can see how one can quickly convert energy and give energy at the same time. So
Totally planned.
my point is that we have all these molecules of energy around us in this world that we live in, and we can absorb it, take these molecules in, and whether it be through a physical conversion, a chemical conversion, um any other types of conversions that you can think of that take place to convert energy, right? So and I forget them now, but we have chemical reactions, whatever reactions, whatever, all those reactions that you learned in chem at some point in time. Um, we go through this process and we convert it, and now we have our form of energy because we can only really use particular forms of energy, and then we dish it out and it comes out different. It might come out as like a blue molecule or an orange triangle shaped molecule or whatever. But that's our specialty, right? We're like Pokemons or whatever, right? So we take them in, all this energy around us, we take it in, and then we can dish it out. I propose to you that that process is basically what we do as humans every day, all the time, in every single area of our life. So when I say it all comes down to energy, that's what I mean. So we have intake, what we take in, what we do with it while it's within us. Like, and I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking physically, mentally, spiritually, on all dimensions. We take what we do with it, and then we can only give it, right? What does that also remind you of? And I'll let you guys chime in here a little bit. What does that also remind you of? Let me put a couple of things in its place right there. Let's remove the word energy and let's put the word money in place.
Mm-hmm.
What do? We earn it, we take it in, we do what we do with it, and then what can we really do with it left? Give it,
Give it away.
right? And you say give it, like give people to something, but you purchasing something is
Purchasing.
actually also simply you giving too,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
It's out of your
So
possession. It's out of your possession.
it's out of your possession. It's gone now, right? So think about that. Think of any system, right? There's an input, there's something that happens in that box, and then there's an output, right? I propose to you that the source, the original, right, way of being was this world where energy was all around us and we were well equipped to take any form of energy, perform some sort of conversion, and give it out in any form. And when I say any area, we can look at the area of health. What type of foods do you take in? How does your body handling it? And then what type of energy can you put out afterwards? What type of liquids do you take in? How does your body handle it? And can you take it? What is the ultimate form that you give out? What type of images do you see? Can you take those in, convert that energy, and right? What type of sounds? And by the way, I want to also point out as we keep going there that all of these things have the same general form. What I mean by that is a sound wave is not too different from a light wave, right? So things we take in from here and take in from here, they're actually not that different, right? So we take these forms of energy in because remember, it can't be created or destroyed, only converted. We take it in, we do some sort of conversion in our box, our system, our pillar, and then we give it out. So and that's in the area of and that would be also physical activity as well, right? Then you could also go into areas that we don't typically talk about this with let's just say relationship, like way of being, right? We all both we every single person here mentioned the word vibes. Well, what do you mean by that? That's just what energy are you? What is it? Emulating, eh,
Emanate.
Emitting.
radiating,
Sure.
It's emitting.
Emitting.
emitting,
Yeah.
emitting, emitting. God
Very good.
bless English,
Thank you. Thank you.
right? So I want to pause right there because that visualization is something I'm going to be playing with for a very long time to get it to a point where it just clicks with people, right? Because there is a certain image that I'm seeing in my head, and I'm trying to find what's the word, what are the words that I can use to get that. But I want you guys to chime in on that imagery here, us being a closed loop system, right? Intake, convert, output. Intake, convert, output. And in everything we do, this is what I'm this is my hypothesis, my thesis. Everything, like as human, our entire experience, the the bottom line currency, the is energy. It's not money. It's not calories. It's not any of these. These are just derivatives, right? I'm no mathematician here, but I can tell you what a derivative is. You know what I mean? Right? But these are just derivatives. We have the core, and then we have the two, the three, the four, the five, and we run into a lot of issues right now in our current world because we're dealing with derivatives and we're not going to the source of anything. Anything. All right. And that's when we start to run into so many problems. And that's when our world seems to be so complex. Our world seems to be so, because we're not cutting to the chase. We're not cutting the noise that's around everything. We're not getting to the core of what is it are we really talking about. Two areas where we can really highlight on this, and I do want you guys to chime in on this, is for me, two very clear areas is the area of health, where we are completely detached from our source of energy, our sources of energy. That's the molecules that we pull in that's most efficient for us to convert and then give out. We're so far removed from those things, but we put derivatives in its place, thinking, yeah, it works. But like, guess what? When you change certain fuel in your car, the car might still go, but the waste that's emitted is higher, or the cost of converting that is higher. Right? You guys see what I'm saying? So I want to pause there for you guys to weigh in, because I know you got some thoughts at that point. But play with that visualization and then put your own spin on it. I said, what do you hear? What do you see? What are you taking away? What would make it more clear for others that are listening?
Mm. Dude, I love this topic. I feel like we could spend just Instagram live after like just every single week we could talk about this topic of energy. Um, this is obviously a newer thing for me. This is like the last 2 years that I've like been thinking in these types of terms, and what I love is like the wisdom that you bring because you've been thinking about this for a while. This idea of, you know, the net energy is total in our body is so cool. Mainly because a lot of people don't really think in terms of such an abstract thing as energy. You can't necessarily see it and touch it and feel it. Although some may disagree, I'm just going to stay high level right now. But yeah, it comes in a certain form, it goes out a certain way. You know what I mean? Like a different form. Like, you know, you use derivatives. I would say different types of energy, different small categorizations. But because we're thinking about it in such a like myopic specific way, you're not able to really think about your energy in such a simple thing. Like that's why it seems complicated. I just loved everything you pointed out. For me, I had a client today that was trying to deal with this, and it's amazing how many people resist thinking about energy in these ways. It's amazing, like thinking about money in anything other than a dollar bill or a coin or the currency or the stock market. Like, no, like it's more than that. Like, so I think you just hit the nail on the head. I'm just that's all I got.
No, that's good. It's good, man. And again, just to kind of give my 2 cents on that, very similar, that closed system, right? That we're intaking something, something is happening, there's a process happening, and then we're emitting something else afterwards, right? That is the thesis of what, and you already hit on this, Khabib, but that's the thesis of, I believe, what happens in all of these areas of the good life, right? Health, wealth, love, happiness, mindset. We're intaking something. A lot of our conversations on this is getting people aware that you're intaking something, right? That's like the first step of this whole process, is you just being like, listen, like your environment. I mean, you just said this on the pregame, could be that like just being able to step outside of your environment, being in a different place, allows you to think differently, see differently, right? Like everything happens different because you just stepped out of that environment, because you started taking in new things with your eyes, new things with your scent, right? New things to eat, new things in your ear. Like everything is new in that sense. So then that energy, so to speak, what you're intaking, your body is doing something different with it. Your mind is doing something different with it. It's not the normal thing. And then you'll get a different result. You'll emit something different. And I think that this is right. It's like the baseline. I understand exactly what you're saying. This is like the baseline for people to understand that the things around you, the things you're taking in, it will affect the rest of that process. How then your body or your mind or your spirit has to go to work, right? Converting that energy, and then what you then give out, right? What you then give out. It's funny because, all of us being coaches, I was in an appointment with another coach earlier this week, and she said something very similar because she was rushing to kind of get on our appointment, and she was like, "Sorry, like this is just me rushing. I was taking in that energy from my last three clients, and I haven't been able to shift it yet because I'm just coming in with you." So she was like, "I just need like 5 minutes or so to shift this energy because I was taking in too much of theirs." And that's also what happens for us coaches a lot is, right, we take in typically a lower energy or a lower vibration to like the people that we're coaching, right? And that rubs off on us because we're taking that in. And if we're not careful about it, that's why we all need our own coaches. That's why we all need our own time to do our self work, because that energy we will take with us, and then we'll start to give out similar energy. So that closed system, it makes sense. It is about what you're intaking. We probably could go deeper into what actually happens, right, when we take it in. But I think that awareness piece of like what we're taking in, I think that's important.
And
Yeah,
that's
man. I think.
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, just went dead there. Oh no, sorry. This thing is. I just wanted to say real quick, like it's so interesting that you've had a coach talk to you about that because I actually have not had this many conversations about energy. I would say this is probably my 20th conversation about energy to this level of depth, which is just so reflective of how many people I think in these terms. My
Yeah.
20th conversation on this topic. This is like the most important topic you could ever talk about in any area of life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally, totally. And again, it's something we all deal with. It's something, especially at coaches, especially because we're constantly interacting with people. We're constantly taking in their energy. Like, again, that energy rubs off. We're constantly doing these things. So, of course, if we're not having these conversations to be aware of it, right, it doesn't end up the right way. But I really think that us allowing people to become more aware of what they're taking in and that energy is a real thing, right? Their energy is a real thing. I think that's how we get to breakthrough. That's how we get to this place. And that was Kabir's, right. His mission today was to get us to a place. You guys, we're laughing at your Instagram. Your Instagram.
This
Uh,
camera thing is crushing me.
oh,
It's
man.
not. It's
welcome back,
listen.
brother. Welcome
Thank you,
back.
thank you.
Welcome
This phone needs some energy, man.
back.
Oh man. Let me reconnect here for a second. Listen, you guys hit on a lot of things that I anticipated you would and wanted you guys to hit on because I there are so many ways, and I think there a part two of this would be really nice because I could zoom in on the health aspect of this, or we could go to the source of how this is so ubiquitous, how this is just like everywhere. And we first talked about, how from the spiritual, physical, emotional, mental aspect, there's energy, right? And then I want to point out that we are a system where we take in. Are you guys still there?
We're still here. Your IG is just turned to the side. That's all. I
Oh,
figured.
okay. Yeah, my IG might be out of commission here. This phone is
So
not good,
it
not
is.
good
It
at all.
is what it is, bro. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, I might have to hop off of IG. We'll see how it is. Yeah. Anyway, so oh Lord, God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good.
We could do that. We could just switch over to no IG for the rest of the night.
Yeah, let's hop off of IG for a second there. Look at that. IG, it wouldn't even turn off. It literally, my phone literally will not obey me, bruh. That's so crazy.
It's okay. We'll get out.
Yeah, let's get out of that. All right, we'll save that for a minute. Good thing we got this. Um, And a couple of things I wanted to point out, and then bullet point things. I'm one that I'm like when I go to things or talk, I'm like, okay, what do I take away from this, right? I wanted to also to point out that just that energy is the baseline of basically all things, right? All things, natural, unnatural, whatever it is all things, right? And that you can pretty much take whether it's, and I'll use the example of health and wealth, that those big categories, and point out that listen, The core, and when you talk about energy, right, let's take health, wealth for a second. Our entire economic system runs off of energy. What do I mean by that? It runs off of production, right? How much energy does it take this individual to produce bacon? Okay. Then we say, how much do we value that bacon? All right. Or how much energy does it take this, to use a more relevant example, this individual to produce an, let's say, an ounce, or is it an ounce of gold? It's ounces, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. An ounce of gold. Or how much does it take this individual to produce one Bitcoin, right? All, and then we value that in money terms, present day money terms, right? Oh, okay, that's how much energy it takes. That's how much we value it. So it's $700, right? Or $800. And that changes just like every derivative does. It changes based on what the source is doing, right? But we're so far removed from the source in the terms of sound money that we're just having like different levels, different derivatives, or different levels removed from the source of essentially gambling that's taking place. Right. So the people that I listen to that make a lot of money, a lot of sense about money, somehow, some way, always come back to the source. They come back to what is actually being produced here. What is being produced here? If there's nothing being produced, sure, a lot of people are making money, but eventually that thing is going to be exposed. Eventually. Now, the smart folks might hop in, get their money, and hop out just in time. But if there's no base of production, there's no value, there's no base of energy there that's being put out, it's fake. It's not real. I'll take that and put it in the terms of health, specifically nutrition. We could consume a lot of things. Not all of it is food. Just like not all forms of exchange is money, is sound money. Not all things we consume is food, is real food. What do I mean by that? Meaning that food has three characteristics, right? And if those characteristics are not met, it's not sound food. It might be able to nourish your body. It might be able to help you eliminate, and it might be able to help you repair. But if it doesn't do all three of those things, it's not sound food. And I think I wanted to start at a high level and zoom in for people to start thinking about this, because alcohol gives you energy. You ever been? I've seen bars now. I've been to college now. Alcohol gives you energy, gives you crazy energy, right? Does it help you? Does it nourish? Does it help you eliminate? Does it help you recover at the cellular level? So it's not food. Cheetos, right? And I think when you utilize this example that this little practice that I'm going through, what you start to realize is the truth. You start to really see the source, right? Um, well, I've heard that this particular thing can do X, Y, Z, and da da da. Okay, that's cool. Is it food? Does it meet those three characteristics? Now, do we only consume food? No, we don't. In fact, we mostly consume things that are not food. They might give us some form of what we call energy, but is it checking those fundamental boxes? And I think that's where, like, if I can get a client, a person to shift and start to look at food in that from that lens, they don't have to ask me another question again. We don't really need, like, we talk about, I think, but we don't really, once that shift is made, all possible answers that could come up are actually answered by going through that simple one, two, three. Does it nourish me? Does it help me eliminate? And does it help me repair the cellular level? Once you see that, then you start to see the game that's being played at the marketing level. They want to either distract you from realizing that it doesn't do any of those three things. They want to either, or they want to seduce you into thinking, yeah, it doesn't do any of those three things, but it does This though, which is the right. But the thing is, I'm not saying that it's none of it is inherently good or bad. What it is it fulfilling that role? I'm not saying everything you put in your everything you put in your mouth has to be food, has to be sound food. Just like I'm not saying everything that you purchase or invest in has to be sound in any. I don't know, but how do you distinguish? Right? How do you distinguish as to what it actually is versus what it's not? And this is where when we have a high level understanding of what energy is, and then we apply it specifically to area of health. And now I'm really only talking about food here. So let's zoom out a little bit more, right? Let's say the only purpose of you consuming anything is to give you energy. So then we look at all of these different things around us that we consume and we say, does that give you energy?
Is
And
pleasure and energy?
pleasure is energy.
So
Pleasure is energy.
yeah.
But if you've got to create, well, the thing is, you can get pleasure from anything.
Mhm.
That's where we get lost. You feel me?
I
So
know.
pleasure is energy, but you could get quote unquote heavy energy or light energy, dark energy or light, or you see what I'm saying? You can get negative or positive energy. It's all energy, right? So, um, Lion King, like they actually, in fact, that you actually need both types of energies. You need light and heavy. It can't be all light.
Yin and yang.
Why? Why? This is important to understand because then you fall out of harmony, right? That's why. So you can go on and on and on. We can go on and on. I go on. I went on and on for 2.5 weeks or so. Energy was on point, bro. Oh yeah, yeah, right. But after a while of consuming that form of energy, I felt the cost. You feel me? So we get caught up in this like good or bad and da 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 and like should I eat this or should I not eat it? No, no. What I want to ask you is what is it doing to you? What is what is the benefit and then what is the cost, right? Of you taking that in, processing it. See, for example, let's say a porcupine, right? A snake could intake a porcupine and digest it. They will get energy out of it, but they might not have intestines left after they've done that. You see what I'm saying? So it's not I think a lot of health practitioners and come from a place of, or our understanding of is from a place of like, oh, I only do this, rather than understanding why you do that and then distinguishing, are you in harmony or not? Does harmony exist in what you're doing? Right? We know a lot of people that drink a little bit of alcohol and they're perfectly fantastic individuals mentally on point. They are high energy, meaning that they always seem to be moving around with speed and pace and vitality. They are 80 something years old. And yeah, they've been having a glass of wine for like 40 years, right?
Mhm.
You also see some people that are consuming and they're like, bro, you should not have another glass, not another one. Put it down right now. What's the difference?
Harmony. Lack of harmony.
Bam. That's the difference. All right. So then my goal, guys, is for you to start asking these questions at a much higher level. My goal then is like when you see a commercial, right? When you are looking at it from this level, you can say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see some use for this. But is it gonna provide harmony in my life? Where I want to go, how I want to feel, the type of energy that I want to give out or put out. Is it going to help me do that? Is it going to help me do this? Is it right? So when we start asking those type of questions, these questions don't become a like, on a purely scientific way of doing things, and you have to mix beranium with uranium and then a little bit of lithium, and you do. Nah, you can look at it from a much higher level of just like simple mathematics. This plus me does not is not good, right? Fireball plus me, no, no, it's not gonna work. And when we start to look at health, nutrition from that level, I believe the game completely shifts because everything we consume, everything we take on, everything we wear, everything is all about energy. I wear this shirt because it makes me feel good. I cut my hair this way because it makes me feel good. I put these shoes on because it makes me feel good. Right? I eat this plate of food because it makes me feel good. Right? Well, there are things that make you feel temporarily good that aren't necessarily provide putting you in harmony long term. You see what you guys see? So I believe that when you start to look at things from that level, especially in the area that I specialize in, you start to think differently because your sense of what makes you feel good can be hijacked and used against you,
Mm.
right? It can be hijacked. Yeah, you feel temporarily good, but like, yeah, da, 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 da. But see, when you step away from source, this is source, and you there are things out here that will make you feel temporarily good, but it comes at a higher cost. I wish I was a better mathematician or I could draw you a graph of this, right? The further we step away from it doesn't mean you don't get any sort of energy from it. You don't get any sort of, but you also increase, and I don't know where on that graph it would be, but you also increase the cost of them. The closer we are to the source, the longer it might take for you to even feel some of those things,
Sure.
but the cost is a lot lower. So you got to choose when are you going to be here versus here and here and here, and when are you to what things are you going to put into place to keep you from going too far from source. And I'll give another just a more tangible example, right? So for a very long time, multiple cultures around the world have utilized like a waist bead, bead, no, like a bracelet around the waist, right? And a lot, if you pay attention, a lot of indigenous cultures do this, right? They don't step on a scale. They don't do any of that. They just know, listen, when this thing gets tight, it's time for me to back off the food. It is that simple. A string does that. And why around the waist? Why is the waist so freaking convenient? It's the source. It's the horror. It's where everything exists. And guess what? So many people have found the same thing. Hippocrates didn't live in those indigenous cultures as far as I knew, but found the same thing. And that everything originates from the gut. They knew that too. They didn't. Everything originates from the gut. Maybe they didn't really think about it that way, but what they do, they put a string around the waist, and it kept them right their whole life. Their whole life. Were they eating meat? Yeah, they were eating meat. Some, maybe not a ton, but they knew. Listen, I had one meat today. That means that tomorrow, next 3 days, no meat for me. Yeah, see, you see what I'm saying? Like, so the whole message for me is everything, the currency of everything is not money. It's not the money don't make the world go around. It's energy that does. Money is a derivative, right? When they talk, a really good company will say what? Focus on, don't focus on this, focus on what? Really, what they're saying is focus on the energy.
Yeah.
How do you serve your clients? What do you put first? What are your values? What are your principles? What are all of that stuff comes down to energy. Because you want that customer, that client, when they leave that presence to be like, man, I feel good. Like that was great. Like, yeah. But then we get greedy and we start to manipulate things as to, okay, I cannot focus on what I needed to focus on and still manipulate the situation in such a way that they still leave with that. It might work now. It might work for the next 50 years, but it's not foolproof.
Mm.
And the further you get away from source, both in terms of ideology, actions, etc., but also generations, right? How many generations have we seen where one individual makes a whole bunch of money, and by the second or third, you're like, you're an idiot. How do you have money? And yes, you got it now, but you ain't gonna keep it for long,
Mhm.
right? So this is something that I'm going to be really piecing together for probably for the rest of my life, as to get a clearer picture of what it is we're actually dealing with. We're dealing simply with energy, man. We're dealing simply with energy, and it's in all forms. It's here. None has been added, none has been taken away. It is up to us to take it in and convert it and then put it out in the way that we want to put it out. All right. And in the area of health, that means paying attention to all the things that we're taking in, right? And changing those things. So if you're taking in enough quality sunshine, enough quality air, enough quality exercise, water, rest, actual minerals, and laughter with community, family, loved ones, and friends. If you're taking those things in, guess what? You're not going to be. You're not going to be at dis-ease. You're not going to be in dis-ease. You're just not. Science can do whatever they want to do to try to explain that. Religion can do whatever they want to do to try to explain that. But it's actually simple. It's actually not complex at all. But all these different groups have their own interests as to how to make it more complex so that they could what? Take some of your energy.
It's huge. That's huge, dude. That's huge. Like the thing that keeps popping into my mind is the thing you just said. This is simple. When you talked about that waist bead, it's simple. It's simple things. How often in life are we overcomplicating things, or they're being overcomplicated to us for their own right, for their own reason? But this is simple. This is simple, to pay attention to these things, to get back down to, and I so appreciate you could be and having this conversation, right? Just uh, to get back to the simple level of like what's being created, right? What energy are you taking in? What's being created? And right, what is it that we're actually going after? What is it that we're doing with this energy? Right? Just having the conversation around this stuff, I think, is again incredibly important. But I think the one thing I'm taking from it is how simple this. If we can just get back to simplicity, right, and just get back to the simple. And I think this is what we talk about a ton on the show, right? Just pulling back these layers, just getting to basic, simple. Let's not overcomplicate this thing. Let's just pay attention to the stuff that's important. Once you figure out what's important, and let's keep it simple, right? I think that's the thing that's really resonating with me right now is the simplicity behind all this stuff and just having a energy conversation, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
For sure. And yeah, I think could be like once again, like Chris said, thanks for bringing this up because this topic is so it's so fun to explore. Like once you begin to go down this path and think about things differently. You mentioned how you can weigh the addition of energy to the cost. You can do that a lot by focusing on a lot of those things you're consuming through the physical body. Another way I like to describe it for anyone who's thinking about it from like the mental or mindset side is, what are those little activities? Like how can you weigh them on a scale? Whether it's an activity, conversation, interaction with a certain person, how can you weigh like how that makes you feel and uplifts you for the day versus how much time do you spend after the fact wondering why that situation felt weird or why there was some type of vibe or shade or something like cool, like with them you had a really great time, you partied, you turned up, but isn't it strange that for the day after or a few days like you find yourself questioning or feeling like something was missing? Was it the amount of energy you spent at the time or was it the particular person you were hanging out with? So it's a very interesting topic to sit there and analyze. And I was doing a personal reflection as you brought it up about how I personally, the last probably 6 or 7 nights after traveling to Chicago, coming back here, I've not had many good rest nights. I also haven't been taking care of my nutrition because I was traveling. And you feel, like you were saying earlier, you feel the cost of this stuff. And when you think of it in terms like this, you no longer think of this pleasure that you're chasing when you finally get vacation from work, you think, how can I always like, what's the lifestyle that allows me to feel like I have a ton of energy, like the right amount of energy for what you want to experience. So nice chat.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you guys weighing in on that. I want to, in the interest of time here, leave with two examples for people to, you take what you take from this, but also I think it's worthwhile to come back and visualize, different scenarios and kind of put it through this system and say, okay, how does this apply? Does this apply? Does this apply? Right? And I think you'll start to find that you will be able um, to create your own sort of system or your own sort of way of visualizing this, right? For me, it's so many things, and maybe there's another episode, but I imagine so many things as like just like a simple just sound wave, and it applies to like I say, everything comes down to energy. I think a lot of visuals, as whether you're in mathematics, whether you're in like wherever you are, that visual keeps coming up. It keeps coming up, and I want people to pay attention to that. Right, when you take a circle and you split it and you put it side by side, you get that visual. Right, yin and yang, you get that visual. Right, sound wave, you get that visual. Light wave, you get that visual. Chart on any, really anything. Right, because that is the essence of life. That is energy. That is a description of when you take a circle, break it in half, and put them right next to each other, and you get this here. Now all we have is just the variable of time, right? Is it going? Do we zoom out and see it going really, really quickly? Do we zoom in and see it going really slowly, or whatnot? I want people to like play with that visual for a bit, and one thing to play when you're playing with it to think about is anything, it cannot be, energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? So anything that you are at like super high, like at top of that, I forget what it's called, the peak of that wave, anywhere you are there, it's inevitable that you're going to come down. So nothing is permanent. Waves, just waves at the beach, think about those, right? And out, right? So nothing in this world is permanent. And when we look at like that, end that sentence right there, that's one thought right there. Second thought, when you're at the peak, right, you're gonna go down because you're taking from future energy or past energy, and you're utilizing it all right now. It's like if you, I hate to use this example, but if you smoke weed, for example, right, and you have a stash, okay, all right, you can smoke it all right now and get blazing, right? Right? Or you could spread it out and a little something here, a little something there, a little something here, a little something here, a little something there, right? That's very different. Same thing with alcohol, right? You can drink all of it and get wasted right now, or you can spread it out and have a little something here, a little something there, a little something there, right? I'm not saying you need to stay there. I'm just saying observe how these things function in real life. Like observe how they function. Okay. So, but both of those are necessary. That top dome and that bottom trough. They're both necessary because everything, just like we say, we absorb that. Going back to that pit where you're absorbing things from. Well, nothing is really like nothing cannot be um, penetrated.
Yeah.
All these are just really tightly wound molecules that if we zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, all we see is just like energy balls like vibrating right next to each other. That's all we ultimately see. And it's like the theory of infinitive halves. Like you keep splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting. Eventually, or we don't know this yet, but you split to the point and you just get what? Just an explosion. Right? So, it's the same thing. Let's apply this to food. Okay. Or our intake of food. We intake in um high cost foods that we go in, we process, and there's this big like emotional whatever in the beginning, right? Oh, this tastes so good. Oh, da 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 da. Then there's a big dip, and that dip, right? That is directly proportionate to how high you got. And if you guys have been through the juicing program, so you'll understand this more than most. But this is where I saw the concept of airplaning in and out. It's because I was like, man, if you're that high up and you just go flat, that's a dramatic drop. Like you get hurt, right? It's the same thing, and it's the same thing with the economy. I was watching this video, Ray Dalio, I believe, was explaining how the economy works, and I was watching this graph he had on the, and I'm like, what? This is the same graph, right? This sound wave type graph is like, well, all credit is like borrowing from the future, and you're here, and eventually you're gonna have to pay it back, and this is what leads to the this and that. I'm like, it's the same thing. Right, it blew my mind. Anyway, you should check out that video so you can start to put these things together. But they're the same things. It's like the seven colors of the rainbow, seven notes in musical scale, seven. Like it's all the same thing. We just blend them all together a little bit. So ultimately, all comes down to energy. If you don't like the energy that you're putting out or the energy that you're getting in, you got to work on what? As a closed system, we got to work on our controls, just like a room that has a thermostat. You set it to 70 and you want it to be 70, but it's like what? 80 or it's 60. Well, you got to change the dial, right? You have the controls. We have the controls. That's ultimately what they don't, structures don't want us to figure out is that we can actually go in and change the thermostat.
That's right.
That's it. That's where I end.
It's
You
huge.
have the force. Right? This idea of the force being with you, same thing. Anyway, let me stop because I could keep going. Same damn thing, guys.
It's
Same
true.
thing.
It's true. It pops up everywhere, and I'll vouch for that Ray Dalio video. If we're thinking of the right one, was it the cartoon one that he's talking like that? It's the cartoon one. He talks
How the
about the
economy works.
yep, the short-term debt cycle, the long-term debt cycle. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. The again, a lot of this stuff, again, it all parallels into all the other areas that we're talking about. I even give it on a real. I don't even know if this is like a deeper level or a different analogy on it, but I always say just in the ups and downs we feel in life, right? Just great moments, right? Horrible moments, all of those things. I would always liken it to right your heartbeat or like a pulse monitor, right? It's
Yes.
up and down, up and down, up
Yes,
and down.
sir.
When you're flatline, you're dead. So if life just went like this for you, which is what people want it to be, you just want it to be this straight route all the way going, you're dead. Like that's not realistic. Everything is up and down, up, down, up, down. I used to give people that analogy a lot, and it all ties into what we're talking about with energy, man. So,
Big facts. Big facts. One last thing, I always look at athletes as the athletic sort of environment. As I always pull little golden nuggets here and there. And one of the things you always hear successful teams talk about is never getting too low, never getting too high. Now, it doesn't mean that you're flatline dead. It means that you don't roll with a roller coaster,
mm-hmm.
right? You're a part of it. You observe it, you see it, you enjoy it, you do whatever, but you're not. Every single up doesn't yank you to the left, doesn't yank you to the right, doesn't right? You stay present and you ride the wave, right? You ride the wave where it goes, you curve with it. Where it goes down, you bend with it a little bit. Do you have to change? Of course you have to change, but it doesn't mean that your emotions and everything rides that roller coaster with it. Because that's what leads to stress, anxiety, etc.
That's right. That's right. I believe it 1,000%. Right. Everything that you're saying, I believe it 1,000%. It's the way it plays out in life. Not too high on the highs, not too low on the lows, especially in that world of entrepreneurship. Right. We talk about this all the time. Right.
Mm.
Every time you have something catastrophic happen or you lose that sale or you miss out on some money or whatever happens in your entrepreneurial journey, if you're down in the pits all the time and then all of a sudden, right, things get great and you're just riding high, that over time will crush you, right? Like there's no way to be that emotionally up and down with the way that things change in your life of entrepreneurship. You have to find a way to just like we said, just ride the wave a bit. Not too low on the lows. You feel the low moment, You know it's a winter season for you. That's okay, right? Bundle up. It's the winter. You understand that. So you get into that place. And then you start to ride it up. And then, right, the spring comes back around. You got your summer season. Things are good. And just know, right after fall, though, comes winter again. And so you just got to be able to ride that out and understand that seasons change, life changes, but your energy, right, like what you're
Hmm.
giving to it, right,
Hmm.
is what's consistent. So
They say what? In all things give thanks. That's not a religious statement, guys. That is literally just a life thing. In all things give thanks. Why? Enjoy the winter, enjoy the summer, enjoy the fall. Because how would you know daylight if you never seen nighttime?
that's right.
Right? How would you know daylight if you never seen nighttime? A car gets its most wear and tear in what? Breaking and stopping, breaking and stopping, breaking and stopping, right? But when you flow in on the highway and you just going, right? You use less fuel. You use less fuel. All right. So I think that's ultimately what this talk I wanted this talk to come down to,
For
and for us
sure.
to be
One
aware.
thing, yeah, sorry, just I wanted to
Oh no,
jump in.
last I want us to be aware, to realize, aware of what's going on, aware that we have the power to change the dial at any time, and to realize and to actually embark on doing that in your health, in your wealth, in your all aspects of life, whatever it may be.
That's right. Take us home, Stu.
Well, I was going to say, like, I love the up and down analogy when it comes to mindset. I often like to have people think about those times when you're super anxious, you're very worried, you're expending a lot of energy, and it's a lot of energy in a very like negative container. Those times when you're feeling very, very depressed, it's a very low energy moment. And when people begin to think about your mindset and your attitude and your feelings with this same energy expenditure, high low type thing, you can kind of play with the same thing. How are you diverting your energy to your mental thought? So just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah.
So good. That's so good, guys. I think, man, we've touched on this energy piece. We might need a round two, right? We might need to get back to it. Um, but man, I think people that are listening, hopefully, you guys got a lot of value out of this. Hopefully, that you are now more aware of this closed system, as Kabi says, right? Like, are you more aware of these things? And it's just, again, these are things to take in to make sure that you are putting yourself in a position to get to the life that you want, right? That designing the life that you want. That's really what this is about. And these become some of those foundational things, some of those bottom metric type things that you say, I got to pay attention to this because this is affecting all the other things in my life, right? So we're here to give you value as always. We're here to do that for you. We want to continue to do that. Again, let me put this up. If you are, where is it? There it is. If you are watching us, I guess you are watching us because we got off of Instagram, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You see it, bit.ly/email TGL. That gets you on the email list. We got some exciting stuff coming up in the new year. We want to make sure that we are staying connected with our tribe, connected with all of you that are paying attention and listening. Because if you need more of this information, we want to be the resource for you. So feel free to jump in, sign up for the email list, and look out for new information coming from us really soon, especially moving into 2020 or 2022. Excuse me. Wow, where am I? 2022. 2022. A lot of exciting stuff up ahead. All right. So until next week, guys, we're going to sign off for another episode of The Good Life. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Would this be like water?
Be like